earlier today, I get a little tip off. And I'm told, hey, Mike Bailey's no longer on the TNA roster page. I'm like, what? I go to check out myself, right? That's what you should always do. That's what you should always do. You go check that out, right? You go, okay, they're alphabetical order first name, right? Mike Santana, that's not the same guy. Matthew Raywalt, not the same guy. That is correct. Like, where is Mike Bailey? Oh, they probably just put it under Speedball, right? The RQST system, Rascals system. Oh, well, it's the, right? Because they can't, right? They can't sort it properly. So, okay, all right. So we're, all right. So Santino Marella, Steve, where is Mike Bailey? There's no Speedball. And indeed, then it's revealed by Fightful Select, say that Speedball Mike Bailey's contract has been up since November 1st. I think a lot of us saw this coming when he dropped the X Division title to the Moose. And also sort of, well, he's kind of been dropping some subtle hints that his time was coming up and so on and so forth. And it makes sense in the TNA context as well. They are still in this restructuring mode. They're getting rid of people to sort of free up some money. You know, they fired some people. I'm not saying that Speedball was fired, especially not after a report that says that his contract came up on the 1st. I don't know if he was not renewed because TNA decided to, or if it was a mutual understanding. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. But Speedball Mike Bailey is officially back on officially, unofficially, back on the market, right? And then Sean Ross Sapp posts this on Blue Sky. I got to tell you, folks, I'm not going to lie, feels kind of good to be posting some things that are happening on the Blue Sky as opposed to anywhere else. Speedball Mike Bailey appears to be headed to AEW, according to those Fightful Select spoke with. Now, I don't have the full details on this. I don't know what more details you need, quite frankly. I'm not sure I'm into that. I'm not sure I'm into it. And don't get me wrong, okay? I got to start clearing the air a little bit here. Because I'm sure a lot of you are like, how can you not like Mike Bailey? No, I love Speedball Mike Bailey. I think he is tremendous. He is a proud representative of the country of Canada, of the province of Quebec, a genuinely nice guy. This is one of these guys that I never hear anything bad about him. Like I never, ever, 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 ever hear anyone say something shitty about Mike Bailey or something shitty that Mike Bailey did. He's one of these guys that comes across as just being universally beloved. Okay, that's all there is to it. However, I am not convinced that 2024 AEW is the best landing spot for him. You will notice I said 2024 AEW right now. I don't think he's a guy that will find his footing in AEW. And this is not a barefoot joke. I don't think he's going to find his footing in AEW. AEW is in a weird, well, it not in a weird spot, but it is in itself in a reconstructive moment, right? And they're trying to refine their focus by refocusing on elements that used to make the company work. We got Jon Moxley back on top. We've got perennial favorite Orange Cassidy challenging for the world championship. We just brought in the Hurt Business, who looked tremendous. I'm eating crow. I think it's been great so far. And, elevating new guys like Swerve. Kenny Omega's on the cusp of returning, and that's going to be a big deal. I don't know if little awkward energy Mike Bailey is going to be able to get himself over. If you had told me Mike Bailey is joining the AEW roster in, early 2020, like just before the pandemic crushed us all, right? Or even, particularly in that time, or even just after that, right? Like post Bryan Danielson's arrival. If you were to tell me Mike Bailey's coming on the roster, I'm slapping my hands together and I'm like, let's fucking go, bro. Like, this was the era where truly AEW was where the best wrestle, and you get banger matches week after week after week after week. And Mike Bailey would have fit in like a glove. He would have just, he'd be, third from the bottom, right? And he'd be tearing the house down, he'd be wrestling Dante Martin, and people would be, tearing their shirts off with how great it was, right? And then we'd all be excited about the prospect of Bailey versus Ospreay, with Ospreay coming in because he had spent the last 2 years just having banger matches on TV. But AEW is no longer exclusively focused on pro wrestling, or as it perhaps was once. Now there's you got to work in you got to work in the personality. You got to get your promos down. You got to get this shit down now, right? And Mike Bailey, god damn, as much as I like Mike Bailey, as much as I like the dude, and I love his matches, the energy he exudes is not, like Chat said, is not US TV. He's not a US TV wrestler, right? Nerds like us, we see Mike Bailey and we're like, all right, boys, here we go. We're in for a good one because it's Mike Bailey, right? So you're just like, yeah, this is going to rule. Let's go. What was the one he had just recently that was really, really good that I saw? Why is it completely escapes me? But I saw one recently. Oh, with Takeshita. Holy fuck. Yeah, that was great. Like at the Maple Leaf Pro thing. Yeah, that was absolutely phenomenal. And I see these things, but these are great matches. I don't see, the thing is that I don't see how Mike Bailey is going to get himself over in AEW. Now, am I going to be happy for this guy? This guy who has an incredible work ethic, who was making the best out of a bad situation when he was stuck in Japan during the pandemic, and doing the best he could and establishing himself. Like, he was, before the pandemic hit, Speedball Mike Bailey was on an upward buzz on the American Indies, and people were taking notice and were like, holy shit, this rules. This guy rules. And then the pandemic hits and all his momentum nosedives. And then he comes back and has to rebuild that buzz. And Jesus Christ, did he ever did, right? With that WrestleMania weekend 2 years ago, where he was, the unequivocal MVP. Like, he was wrestling 3 times a night and delivering 4-star matches every time, right? Every ounce that he can squeeze out of Tony Khan, Comrade Tony Khan, in this circumstance here, is deserved. Like, this is a guy who has sacrificed and is given again. And he loves, it's a guy you can't take, he loves pro wrestling. And you can't take that away from him. And especially in a moment right now, especially when it comes to Japanese fans, where a lot of Japanese fans wonder if certain wrestlers really do love pro wrestling or not, right? Is this a guy, not even this is a guy who loves pro wrestling. Loves it as much as I do, as you probably do. He watches the tape. he nerds out on matches like he's one of us. So there's all sorts of good, strong qualities regarding Mike Bailey, but you know what? His energy and his charisma are not one of them. They're just not. And I don't like the prospect of a Mike Bailey Ricochet match is exciting, but not enough to say, yeah, lock him into AEW. The prospect of another match with Takeshita, absolutely, but not enough to lock into AEW. With Will Ospreay, yeah, sure, yes, let's do that again. I guess Danielson would be the fresh match, and that would be tremendous. But I don't know. I don't know if he's a guy that's meant for North American TV wrestling, or they're going to have to work on his package. Please don't clip that. They're going to have to work on his packaging to make sure that he comes across as something that he comes across as something bigger, right? Much bigger. Because when the news broke today that his contract was out, and I was sitting back in my chair and I was thinking, I was like, okay, so he should be going back to Japan. That was my thought. Go back to Japan and have yourself a proper New Japan run. Like, join the roster, join the junior division for a couple of years. Have yourself a proper run. Win yourself a Best of Super Juniors. Win yourself the junior heavyweight title, right? Do that. Go to Arena Mexico. Go do CMLL is hot. CMLL is hot these days. Go there, work with the guys there. Have yourself some great matches with Volador Jr. Go fight the Villano kids. Go fight Atlantis Jr. Have yourself some barn burners with Mascara Dorada. You know, have a Verno be your base. You know, that kind of stuff. But chat makes a very good point. There's no money to be made in Japan. I'm talking selfishly as a fan, right? Of course. Like that's where I think Speedball excels. Now, the money is unquestionably better in AEW, and you know, he can still live in Montreal. He's already got his visa paperwork all set up. Like, you know, the guy's good to go, right? I could be wrong. I've been wrong when it comes to AEW doing hirings, right? I said, you know, hiring Adam Copeland is going to be a disaster. Why are we doing this? It sucks. And Edge ended up assimilating himself into the locker room and adopting the AEW style perfectly. It's like, and he's had a really good run up until his injury, right? The cage match with Gangrel, what was it? It was against Malachi Black, right? That was the only true misstep. And it's forgivable. The Hurt Business, the Hurt Syndicate. I was like, Bobby Lashley, man, I don't know. It's kind of annoying. I'm not sure. Guy never drew a dime. What are we doing here? And they bring them in, all three of them, and it's like it's been tremendous. Like, it's been objectively tremendous. So maybe they got the magic touch here, and Speedball is going to find the identity that's going to make him rise to the top. But look, this guy he's not world championship material, and that's fine. And maybe you just want a good, solid mid-card worker too. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. You need guys who's like, your ceiling is clear, brother. You know, your ceiling is clear. As long as he stays with that, like I said, like that awkward energy, Speedball is never going to be a top guy. He's never like a top guy. Never. But, you know, maybe something will unlock. Maybe he'll just get like the ka-ching. I mean, he's a good match guy. That's the point, right? He can be a good match guy, good mid-carder, and that's not an issue, right? Hell, I'm even thinking right now, AR Fox versus Bailey, right? Nice little mid-card entertainment match, and you got yourself something fun to watch on a Saturday night, right? If you put that on Collision. Like, that's a perfect Collision match, right? or a shockwave match. I don't know what, depends on what they're doing once they dump Rampage, but like there's no shortage of good opponents for Mike Bailey, right? But there's no shortage of good wrestlers for Mike Bailey. I'm just afraid Mike Bailey is not going to get himself over like people think he's going to get himself over. Then again, I could be wrong. It's if his work can look, it'll depend on the direction of the promotion. Because if, like I said, if this was 2022, if this was 2022 AEW, where everyone is wrestling like it's the last night on earth and we're having extremely explosive dynamites week after week after week, pun intended, then yeah, there's a spot for him there. In this AEW, I don't know.